What if everything you've been trying to do right could be summed up in just one principle? What if all the complexity of rules, expectations, and pressure comes down to something much simpler? And what if the most important command isn't about what you do, but how you love? In Mark 12:28-34, we encounter a moment that feels different from the confrontations before it. A teacher of the law approaches Jesus, not to trap him, but to understand. He has been listening, observing how Jesus answers difficult questions, noticing the clarity, the depth, the authority, and he asks a sincere question. Of all the commandments, which is the most important? This is not a small question, because in that time there were hundreds of commandments, laws, traditions, expectations that shaped daily life. People debated them, ranked them, tried to understand which mattered most. And now he brings that question to Jesus. What matters most? What is at the center of everything? Jesus answers without hesitation. The most important one is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. This is a call to totality, not partial, not occasional, not divided. All your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength, every part of who you are. This is not just belief. It is devotion. It is alignment. It is a life oriented towards something greater. Then Jesus continues, the second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these, two commands, but deeply connected. Because love for God is not isolated. It flows outward into how we treat others, into how we see people, into how we live. And this connection is essential, because it reveals that faith is not just vertical, it is also horizontal. It is not just about relationship with God, but about relationship with people. And the two cannot be separated. The teacher of the law responds, well said, teacher. You are right in saying that God is one and there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart, understanding and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. This response is significant because it shows understanding. He sees beyond ritual, beyond external practice, into what truly matters, and Jesus notices. He sees that this man is not just repeating words, but grasping meaning. So he says to him, you are not far from the kingdom of God. Not far. This is a powerful phrase because it acknowledges progress, but also invites further movement. It recognizes understanding, but points toward transformation, because knowing is not the same as living. And this is where the message becomes deeply personal. Because it is possible to understand what matters and still struggle to live it. To know that love is central, but find it difficult to express consistently. To recognize what is right, but feel the tension of everyday life. And that is where this passage speaks directly into our experience. Because it simplifies, but it also deepens. It removes complexity, but increases responsibility. Because if everything comes down to love, then love becomes the measure. Not just of belief, but of life. And this kind of love is not superficial. It is not just emotion. It is commitment, action, choice. It is how we respond when it is difficult, how we treat others when it is inconvenient, how we remain aligned when it is challenging. Loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength means that nothing is held back. No divided loyalty, no partial devotion. It means that your priorities, your decisions, your direction are all shaped by that relationship. And loving your neighbor as yourself means recognizing value in others. Respect, care, compassion. It means seeing beyond differences, beyond disagreements, beyond personal comfort, and choosing to respond with dignity and kindness. This is not easy, because it requires consistency, it requires awareness, it requires intention, but it also brings clarity. Because when love becomes the foundation, everything else finds its place. Decisions become clearer, actions become more aligned, priorities become more focused. Because instead of asking, what should I do, the question becomes, what reflects love? And that question reshapes everything. It moves us away from legalism toward relationship, away from performance toward authenticity, away from obligation toward purpose. The teacher of the law recognized this. He saw that love is greater than ritual, greater than sacrifice, greater than external display. And this is a critical insight, because it challenges how we often measure faith. We may focus on activity, on visible actions, on structured practices, And while those have value, they are not the center. The center is love, because without love, action loses meaning. Without love, practice becomes empty. Without love, even the right things can miss the point. And this is what Jesus brings into focus. He does not dismiss the law, he fulfills it by revealing its core, its essence, its purpose, and that purpose is love. This also means that love is not optional. It is essential. It is not an addition to faith. It is the expression of it. And this raises an important reflection. How do we define love in our lives? Is it selective, limited to certain people, certain situations, certain conditions, or is it consistent, expanding beyond comfort, reaching into areas that challenge us? Because loving those who are easy to love is natural, but the command goes deeper. It calls for a standard that goes beyond instinct, beyond preference, into intentional choice. And this is where growth happens. Not in the moments that feel easy, but in the ones that require effort, patience, understanding, and sometimes sacrifice. The phrase, "as yourself," is also important, because it acknowledges that we naturally care for ourselves. We protect, we provide, we prioritize. And Jesus uses that as a reference point, not to diminish self-worth, but to extend that same care outward, to see others with the same value, the same importance, the same dignity. And this creates a balance, because it does not call for neglect of self, but alignment between self and others. A recognition that value is shared and that love connects rather than divides. When Jesus says the man is not far from the kingdom of God, it suggests that understanding love is a step towards something greater. But the next step is living it, because knowledge opens the door, but action walks through it. And this is where transformation takes place, in daily choices, in small decisions, in consistent alignment, not in perfection, but in direction. Moving toward love, returning to it when we drift, choosing it again and again. And over time, that shapes who we become. Because what we practice becomes part of us, and when love becomes practice, it becomes identity. Not something we try to do, but something we begin to be. And that is the deeper invitation of this passage, not just to understand love, but to embody it, to let it shape how we think, how we respond, how we live. Because in the end, the greatest commandment is not just a statement. It is a way of life, a direction, a foundation, and everything else builds on it. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who may need a reminder of what truly matters today.